So you're doing all the right things, right? The things you've been told to do. You're eating healthy, you're exercising more, and you're trying to be consistent, but things aren't working. And it might even be that this happened all of a sudden. Like one day things were moving along smoothly, and then all of a sudden the things you have learned and what you were told to do and were working just abruptly ceased to work any longer. And you might be gaining weight, especially around your middle, not sleeping, and feeling frustrated, and maybe some mood changes around that, maybe feeling not motivated and a little bit hopeless. I hear this a lot from the women I talk to. And today, what I want to do is kind of bring in a plan for you that has helped so many women and will hopefully help you. A plan for women in menopause and beyond menopause in regards to exercise and nutrition. And I talk about this a lot. This is my wheelhouse. This is where I get to watch women transform their lives. So today I'm going to walk you through step by step. I've got some slides that I'm going to share with you to help you understand why it's happening and then what you can do about it. Because I think if we can understand what's going on, because you're not doing anything wrong, this was working. The fact of the matter is our physiology has changed. Our body has changed. Our brain is changing. Everything's changing. And if you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s or beyond that, and you're struggling, A, you're not alone, and B, there is hope. And the other really important thing is don't wait. If you're in your 40s and you're just beginning this journey and starting to see some shifts and changes, maybe you're getting night sweats. Maybe you're noticing your mood is a little bit off. You're quick to respond in a way you might not like to respond. Your clothes aren't fitting the same. These are some common things I start to hear early on. And then we wait and we wait and we wait. And what I want you to know is this time in our lives is a breeding ground for disease later on. Think cancers, brain disease, right? Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, certainly diabetes, things that are going to lead to a lower quality of life in this final chapter, right? And we want to live our best lives. So hopefully what I share today is going to give you a platform to start from, a baseline, some things you can just start to do and be aware of. And maybe you're already doing some of this. So hopefully it's maybe just a reinforcement. But either way, we have to do things differently. And that's just the way it is. If we want to live that long, healthy life, you don't have to do anything, right? But we do have a choice. And my job here, I feel, is that to offer you and share with you some things you can do if you want that thriving life. If you want to be the grandma who is running around in the yard, maybe, versus sitting in the chair watching, if you want to be interactive, if you want to be, spending your retirement years traveling and being active, how cool is that, right? We finally have this time in our lives. How do we embrace it? And this is how. So, with that, I will share some slides with you. All right, so here we go. What is the best nutrition and exercise plan in menopause and beyond, right? Once we reach that time in our lives when we are no longer producing children, right? That is no longer our main function. Because truth be told, that is what our bodies have been biologically geared to do up until this point. And so doesn't it make sense if things have come to this point, that has been our main function, and then that is no longer our main function, that we have different needs. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to talk about it in a way that we can build strength, improve energy, and then support our metabolism. What changes, right? And here we go. Decline in estrogen. And this is huge because we just think, well, okay, that's one hormone, right? But A, there's so many different forms of estrogen. And B, we have estrogen receptors all over our body, which means when estrogen declines, every organ, every working part of our internal insides shifts, changes, slows down. I've heard it said and shared by Felice Gersh, medical doctor in this field that estrogen equals energy. And that was a big part of what gave us our life force. We no longer have estrogen on board. So again, we've got to do things differently. So we see the decline in estrogen. That can lead to increased insulin resistance, among other things, right? We know cortisol is a factor in there, right? And blood sugar dysregulation. So insulin resistance is a biggie. And this is a big reason why women gain weight after menopause. And I'll get into that. Loss of muscle mass. Muscle is a metabolic booster. The more muscle we carry in our body, right, the more efficient our body works. This is again why the GLP-1 antagonists, right? They can be really helpful, don't get me wrong. But a big issue with them is that there can be an increase in muscle loss. And as women in menopause and beyond, we're already struggling with that. So the GLP-1s can promote more muscle loss, which again is something we really want to preserve muscle at this stage in life for several reasons. Muscle is we hear it said the organ of longevity. So for our brain, it's important, right? For our metabolism. It protects our bones. And when our bones are protected, right, we are less apt to break a bone. And so we really want to protect muscle at all costs. There's so many reasons why. Changes in fat storage, and these go hand in hand. So loss of estrogen, increase in insulin resistance. And what that really means, again, insulin resistance means our body is not efficiently using insulin in a way. We're not properly using insulin. What we want to be is insulin sensitive, meaning our body can use it and clear it, right? There's like a block, and which causes when there's a block, what happens is we eat food and our body, instead of using it for energy, right? It gets stored as fat. And this happens, unfortunately, we're more prone to that at this stage in life if we're not doing certain things. And then, of course, there's sleep and stress disruptors. And those are two big issues that I hear a lot about. I'm not sleeping or I'm not getting quality sleep. My HRV is low. I'm not getting any deep sleep. I hear this a lot. And this is the reason and stress disruptions is because those go hand in hand. Our nervous system has become dysregulated. Again, why? Go to the top one, decline in estrogen. So we have to acknowledge this and we have to work. Well, again, I hate to say have to. It can be really helpful at this stage in life to acknowledge this and then take steps to help ourselves in these areas. That's the key. So, old approach, right? Eating less, right? We're going to cut calories way back. That doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work because our body shifts with that decline in energy, right? So when we put in less energy, our body's like, oh, less energy, I'm going to slow way down, which I'm already struggling. We already have a hard time. Everything slows down anyway, right? And so now we're not eating as much. So our body's going to slow down with that. And then the problem is you're going to eventually eat and your body just takes what you're putting in and stores it. So it's this flip-flop reversed, unfortunately, that isn't working. Another reason, and this is a biggie, is it puts a stress on our body. And when we aren't eating enough, our body feels it's in a stress state, right? It's like, what? I'm not getting food. What's happening? And so when we're in that stress state, we produce more of the hormone cortisol. And cortisol isn't all bad, but at certain times it isn't great, right? When that is produced, we go into that fight, flight, freeze state when everything is kind of shut down or shut off. And that promotes fat storage. And so we have to work with our bodies and fuel our bodies at this stage in life in a way that works now. And then there's cardio. We want to cardio, high intensity, go, 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 more, hours upon hours in this state that isn't quite easy enough And it's not hard enough. We're in that middle, I call it the gray zone, where we're just pushing our body through and it isn't really serving us, right? It's that, again, that stress state. We're in that high stress state. So, not eating, stress, exercising too much, too long, too hard, stress. And then the next one, we're not, then we're not recovering, right? Because our body's on tilt. So we're not resting because our body is too amped up. We're not fueling enough. So our body is in that starvation mode. And again, those stress hormones are going to come in. And so all these things together. And then, of course, that muscle loss is accelerating just because once we are in I think it's age 30 and beyond, we start to lose a dramatic amount every decade of muscle mass. So it keeps going down just if we're in a steady state of doing the same thing. So things, it's putting together these puzzle pieces of, oh my gosh, okay, so eating less doesn't work. Exercising more isn't working. These are all stressing our body out. And again, when we're in a stress state, we will not lose weight, period. Nothing's going to change. And so, working on recovery and building muscle, these are things we can shift into, fueling our bodies in a new way, right? Finding cardio that works for our body, right? At this stage in life, because they're all important. And so, biggest mistakes are under eating, too much cardio, right? Not enough protein, and avoiding strength training. And so, what we want to do, nutrition trumps everything, right? I always say you can't out exercise a bad diet. You just can't. It doesn't work. I don't always say it. I mean, I've heard it said as well. I'm not making that up in my own space. But we have to prioritize protein. Balance blood sugar. This goes back to what we talked about with insulin. That works together. So balancing your blood sugar can make you more insulin sensitive, right? So that your body isn't in that traffic jam I mentioned where insulin isn't working efficiently, right? Things get stopped up. And so if we can balance blood sugar, right, everything kind of starts to move a little bit more efficiently, right? We're not in that amped up state where we're just going to store fat. Eating enough. I hear this a lot. Like, women will come in and they'll do a food diary, and it's just too little to support weight loss. And it goes back to that starvation mode that I just talked about. Like, if your body is stuck in this place of scarcity, right? It's going to hold on to things. And remember that stress heightening. It's going to also bring up your stress level. And you may not even realize it. That's the thing, right? Maybe like, I'm fine. I don't get it. But it really will impact you, especially over time, where you will start to just, unfortunately, it works the opposite way as it used to. It just does. And we're going to focus on whole nutrient dense foods, right? I always say protein, fat, and fiber. Protein, fat, and fiber. Anti-inflammatory nutrition is really where we want to head right now because our body is also more inflamed due to that drop in estrogen. And inflammation is, where you feel that bloat that you just can't get rid of, right? Or joint pain, overall body pain, aches and pains. So we want to really, again, focus here so that we can make the shift to feeling like ourselves again, because it is possible for sure. Protein. This is where it's all at. We have to eat more protein. Well, again, I always say we have to, but it is a great idea to eat more protein to support muscle and metabolism. This is our number one macronutrient focus. So I'll say things to clients like protein forward, protein first. We want to be protein forward in all that in our meal makeup, right? It helps reduce fat. Why? Well, it's going to improve satiety and it's going to support muscle protein synthesis. This is really important. So the strength training with the protein together optimizes our metabolism, our energy, and our ability to lose fat. So our target is generally zero point 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of goal or ideal body weight. Okay. So you can calculate that in and then divide it up through your meals. Like how many meals are you having? 2 meals, 3 meals, 4 meals, 5 meals. So divide that up. It doesn't matter so much as to how you divide it up. It matters more that you get that amount in per day. So carbs are not the enemy at all. Actually, we need some carbs definitely to support our bodies, our metabolism, our insulin ability to be insulin sensitive. It helps our sleep, right? So they're not all bad, but the type of carbs does matter. So we want to use whole fiber rich carbs. Fiber, fiber, fiber. So important. Protein, fiber, and of course, the healthy fat. But pair your carbohydrates with protein. And when I talk about carbohydrates, I'm talking about your squashes, your fruits, your vegetables. These are all carbohydrates. So we want to make sure we're getting the highest fiber sources of carbohydrates that we can. Think complex versus simple. Simple carbs are your processed foods, right? Anything that comes in a box, a bag, or has a barcode, most likely. Although some fruits have a tag that now has a barcode, I get it. But those are what we want to stay away from, the simple carbs. Complex carbs, right, are your whole grains, your fruits, your vegetables. And most of us at this stage of life, we also have to be really careful of gluten. Most of us have a sensitivity, so we want to stay away from gluten. And that also helps promote insulin sensitivity, by the way. So we're pairing with protein, adjust based on your activity. So if you're somebody who is a runner, you're doing some VO2 max workouts, meaning high intensity a couple times a week, your strength training 3 times a week, you're doing it all. You want to definitely adjust your carb ratio up, especially around your workouts. It helps support muscle growth. It helps support energy and metabolism. So that's a good thing. If you're somebody who's take a walk every day and do Pilates and that's your basis, that's kind of your routine, you probably don't need as many carbs. Right? You're not doing a lot of high heart rate or high aerobic or anaerobic work. You can probably bring it down a little bit. And it is very individual. Like there's no one size fits all here. So it is important to just acknowledge that. And all of us just need to avoid snacking because that does us no good. And that promotes the insulin resistance, right? Because and as I talked about blood sugar, it destabilizes your blood sugar, meaning you're going to have that constant roller coaster of blood sugar. So you're going to feel really energized and then really low and then really high, then really low. And you're going to need to keep snacking in order to keep that going, keep bringing your energy back up. Caffeine or sugar is going to have to be on board in order to keep that going. So that is a place that a lot of women come in where they're struggling with that. They just can't stabilize their blood sugar. They've got a lot of inflammation, definitely insulin resistant. And again, those 3 things are so common behind the reason women are gaining weight and not able to lose it. So there is a solution, and that's honestly where main space I work with women is helping to dial in lowering inflammation, getting out of insulin resistance, leveling out your blood sugar so that you can really start to feel amazing and lose the weight. So snacking, yeah, we want to get away from that constant snacking. So what's the best exercise plan, in menopause and postmenopause? And here it is. Strength training. This is ideal, by the way. So it doesn't mean if you are a walker, you're going to start doing all of this right away, or you're a yogi, or you're, doing Pilates. Those are all really good things. But again, we're talking about for the postmenopausal woman, what is the best exercise plan? Why? To promote longevity. And remember being that grandmother that runs around in the yard and, maybe goes on long hiking trips or cycling trips. I love that. And, is active in her retirement years. This is the formula. And again, this is optimal. So we don't necessarily have to start here, but this is where we would build to. And it's strength training 3 to 4 times a week, getting in zone 2 cardio, right? Because that does help with fat loss. We know that. But true zone 2, remember I talked about where we're working too hard in that gray zone space, zone 3. We want to really make sure we're in that lower intensity zone 2 training. And I would say, we want to get that in again, probably anywhere from 3 to 4 times a week and aiming for anywhere from 30 minutes a time would be for 3 to 4, or you can make it, you can do one or two for a little longer. So just, and it can be any form. It doesn't have to be, running or cycling, or it can be swimming. It can be, if you can get it in walking, do it. Wear a rucksack. Those can work great. The key is getting your heart rate into that zone and holding it there. VO2 max intervals, 1 to 2 a week. And these, the classic is on a Norwegian 4x4, and that is 4 minutes. And you're going up. You're, gonna increase your effort and then hold, right? Once you get up there. And this is a zone 4 into 5, right? So this is a high end interval. And so you would get up there into zone 4, zone 5, right? You see the difference. Zone 2 is down here. Zone 4, 5 is something you're not going to maintain for a super long time. You're going to work your way up. And then once the 4 minutes is done, you come down for 4 minutes. Hence the 4x4. So you do 4 times, 4 minutes on, 4 minutes off. That's your traditional VO2 max workout. There's other workouts you could do. I'm just giving you one of them, but that's a good one. And obviously you work your way up to that, right? There isn't, any magic one workout. I'm just giving you an example. And then daily movement, walk, 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 whenever, right? Just move your body. Most of us sit for long periods during the day, but if we can get out, and maybe even just 10 minutes after meals is a great way to start, but getting movement in. And, I don't have it down here, but I love yoga. Yoga, I know Pilates works really well for some women. So that's another form, right? That's mobility. That is definitely getting in some core strength, balance, right? But I really want to be clear, Pilates and yoga is not strength training. They are two very different modalities. The other thing yoga and Pilates is great for is your nervous system, right? It is much more of that if you can use it correctly, right? If we use those workouts in the right way, it can really help regulate our nervous system, which is, again, that goes back to that recovery, which we need to build into our day. Strength training, honestly, is a non-negotiable for myself and women I work with. It is preserves lean muscle, supports bone density. I've kind of been saying this, right? It improves insulin sensitivity, right? So how about that? So strength training actually helps your build insulin sensitivity. So that's a biggie, right? Because again, we know that is the number one reason women tend to gain weight and struggle to lose it after menopause. And we can do this, right? We can help you here. And it boosts metabolism, strength training, very, very much. So really big positives there. And then, as far as regulating our nervous system, tell you what, recovery is huge. And our body needs more recovery than we used to. And this is another reason a lot of women really struggle is because they're on their same routine. Maybe, they're going to Orange Theory or, whatever that high intensity workout day after day and not recovering, and this is where I see a lot of women that we just have to revamp this. I mean, hello, I needed to big time. It's just working with your body differently today. We have to manage these things differently because that's the way our body is today. And it's instead of fighting our body, I'm a big proponent of learning how to work with your body. Stress management is a biggie, and that is something that again, we have to just continually be aware of and preempt in a way. So I think that it's so important, or I believe it's important, not just to, kind of do it when we feel stressed, but to make it a part of our daily routine, morning routine, midday, evening, like I think those 3 times a day to really check in, self-assess, how am I doing? Maybe go for a short walk, sit and do a few breathing exercises. I like to pair it along before and after meals. It can be super helpful because we're already going to do that. So can we do it before to really calm our nervous system before we go into a meal, or after go for a light walk? Those are just some examples. So, really supporting your nervous system is a big piece of what and how. Well, it's what's going on, why you're feeling the way you're feeling, why things aren't moving. And supporting your nervous system is truly the magic sauce, the secret sauce in how we really work with our body now to create change, to get control back so we don't feel like we can't do anything to shift or move the needle. You can. It truly is more about recovery, which how cool is that, right? Overtraining, yeah, been there, done that. It does not work. It sets us way back. So avoid overtraining, focus on recovery. So the real goal, yeah, I want that, right? Hey, yeah. Um, and we have it, right? We have it. It's just a matter of really doing things a little bit differently. That's all. Not overhauling, but just shifting some moving the pieces around a little bit, on the chessboard or whatever, right? It's really not just about weight loss because I think longevity is energy, it's having just wanting to live life to its fullest, right? And it's about strength, it's about energy, right? It's about confidence. I feel amazing in my body, right? That we want to say that, right? And you can say it right now and then act our way into it, right? We have to take the steps. But longevity, and to me, that is again, it's living life to its fullest until my last breath. That's for me. And really having that quality of life. These are the years where we don't have those responsibilities that we did with small kids and maybe even parents. But it is your time. It is my time. It is our time. So step into it. Don't wait. Like things get in the way. And then, we don't want to find ourselves in a place where we are in dis-ease or disease. Start now. I encourage you. So, really the best plan is not about doing more, right? I talk a lot about that. It's about doing what works for your body, not everybody, but your body now. And this is a space if this is helpful. But if you find this information resonates for you and you found it helpful, this is how I help women step by step, piece by piece, working with each woman where they are and road mapping where they want to be. And then we do it together. And so if this is something that you're struggling with, as a woman in menopause or postmenopause, you're struggling with weight gain, weight loss resistance, meaning you just try everything and nothing's moving, or you want to build a strength training program post menopause, that is a place to start. So wherever you are, take a step. I encourage you to take a step to make this the best next chapter of your life. It is possible. So I'll look forward to hearing from you. If you like this, please subscribe and leave a comment. And also click the link to book a call so we can talk through your plan and what it's going to look like. So thanks for being here today, and I hope you found this helpful. Bye.